Conor McGregor, the fighter who refused to stay down. There are fighters who step into the cage because they love competition. And then there are fighters who step into the cage because they believe they were born for it. Conor McGregor belongs to the second kind. Before the designer suits, private jets, championship belts, and millions of dollars, Conor was just a young kid from Dublin, Ireland, with a dream that sounded almost impossible. He wanted to become the best fighter in the world. But the road to becoming a global superstar was never easy. Conor Anthony McGregor was born on July 14, 1988, in Crumlin, Dublin. As a teenager, he discovered mixed martial arts and quickly became obsessed with the sport. He trained constantly, studying fighters and developing a style built around confidence, precision, movement, and one of his greatest weapons, his belief in himself. But belief doesn't pay the bills. For a period of his early career, Conor worked as a plumber while pursuing fighting. He wasn't living the life of a superstar. He was chasing a dream that didn't come with any guarantees. Then something changed. Conor decided to bet everything on himself. He began making noise on the Irish MMA scene, winning fights and building a reputation. His personality was impossible to ignore. He talked differently. He dressed differently. He carried himself like a champion before he had ever won a major championship. Some people thought he was arrogant. Others thought he was crazy. But Conor didn't seem to care. He believed his words were part of the fight. When he eventually made his way to the UFC, the world started paying attention. Conor wasn't just winning fights. He was predicting exactly how he would win them. And then he would walk into the cage and make it happen. His confidence became legendary. His left hand became feared. His interviews became must-watch television. And suddenly, the fighter from Dublin wasn't just another UFC athlete. He was becoming a phenomenon. In 2015, Conor faced Chad Mendes for the interim UFC featherweight championship. The fight was brutal, emotional, and physically exhausting. But Conor survived. He finished Mendes in the second round. And in that moment, the dream became real. He was a UFC champion. But Conor wasn't finished. He wanted something nobody had done before. He wanted to become a two-division champion. In 2016, he stepped into the octagon against Eddie Alvarez for the UFC lightweight championship. What happened next became one of the most famous performances in MMA history. Conor dominated the fight, knocking Alvarez down repeatedly before finishing him in the second round. Just like that, Conor McGregor became the first fighter in UFC history to hold championships in two weight classes simultaneously. He had gone from a young man working as a plumber to one of the biggest names in combat sports. But success can be dangerous. Sometimes the higher you climb, the harder the fall becomes. Conor's fame exploded. He became a celebrity beyond the world of MMA. He appeared on magazine covers, walked into press conferences wearing expensive clothes, and built a business empire around his name. But eventually, he wanted an even bigger challenge. Boxing's biggest superstar was Floyd Mayweather Jr. Mayweather was undefeated. Conor had never competed professionally in boxing. On paper, the matchup seemed ridiculous. But Conor saw an opportunity. In 2017, the two men faced each other in Las Vegas. Millions watched. The fight went longer than many people expected, but Mayweather eventually stopped Conor in the 10th round. Conor lost. But somehow, even in defeat, he had turned himself into an even bigger global star. Then came one of the darkest chapters of his career. In 2018, Conor faced Khabib Nurmagomedov in one of the most anticipated fights in UFC history. There was genuine bad blood between them. The fight was intense, but Khabib controlled Conor and eventually submitted him in the 4th round. After the fight, chaos erupted. The rivalry had become bigger than sport. For Conor, it was another painful reminder that fame doesn't make you invincible. And then came injuries, setbacks, losses, and long periods away from competition. He lost twice to Dustin Poirier, including a devastating leg injury in their 2021 trilogy fight. For the first time, the man who had spent years telling the world that he couldn't be stopped was facing a reality every athlete eventually has to confront. The body has limits. Age catches up. Champions get hurt. And sometimes, the hardest opponent isn't standing across from you. It's yourself. But that is what makes Conor McGregor's story so fascinating. His legacy isn't simply about wins and losses. It's about transformation. He showed millions of people what can happen when someone believes in a dream before the world believes in it. He understood something many athletes don't. Attention is powerful, confidence is powerful, and storytelling can turn an athlete into an icon. Conor didn't just fight opponents. He fought expectations. He fought doubt. He fought the idea that someone from a small neighborhood in Dublin couldn't become one of the most recognizable athletes on earth. And whether you love him or hate him, it's difficult to deny what he accomplished. He changed the business of MMA. He helped bring unprecedented attention and money to the sport. He became a two-division UFC champion. He became a global celebrity. But perhaps the most important part of his story is what happened before anyone knew his name. There was no guaranteed contract. No millions of followers. No championship belt. There was just a young man training in a gym, believing that his life could become something extraordinary. That's where the real Conor McGregor story begins. Not with the fame, not with the money, not with the championship, but with belief. Because sometimes, before the world recognizes a dream, you have to be willing to believe in it alone. Conor McGregor did exactly that. And even after the victories, the defeats, the injuries, and the controversies, one thing has remained clear. He never wanted to live an ordinary life. He wanted to be remembered. And whether history remembers him as a champion, a controversial superstar, or one of the most influential figures in MMA, one thing is certain. Conor McGregor didn't wait for the world to give him a place. He walked into the room and demanded one. And that's why his story isn't really about fighting. It's about refusing to stay down.